Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm taking a look at some McFarlane DC toys for the second time here on this channel. I do have quite the collection though, so this is a theme that I would like to spend a bit more time on because this toy line is actually one that is more stocked in my country and city compared to Hasbro's toy lines as of 2024. I recently made a video covering an NZ retailer that's pretty popular here. They regularly have these DC toys on a clearance, which is just one of the many reasons why they are more appealing to me right now than Black Series or Marvel Legends figures. But there is a catch to that retailer. The catch is that they won't list these figures individually on their site. Instead, they're dumped into a bulk assortment. I've talked about this in my Marvel Legends X-Men 97 Wave 2 video. It's the same deal there. You have to buy these at random. The savings though when you buy them like this are genuinely extreme and well worth the risk. If I was only saving $5 to $10, then maybe I wouldn't go through all the hassle, but I ended up saving more than $130 on these figures altogether. So the figures we have here today are a Superman variant, a Robin Tim Drake, and a Riddler. I think these three were released within the same wave, but I could be wrong here. At least on the store listing, these three are the assorted lot. And then we have Red Tornado to round things out. This was actually the only figure to be listed as an individual. Exciting too, because he is one of the fancy gold label figures, as you can see compared to that Robin figure. My goal over the past year has been to try and collect a definitive figure of each Justice League member. I want to have a standout display to counter the Marvel display that I have. The Marvel display is practically complete as far as necessary figures go now, so I am starting to prioritize those DC ones. This is the lot out of their boxes and with their accessories. It's funny, it's pretty simple and easy going for these first three here, and then Riddler shows up with an ensemble collection. First up here is Superman, and he's interesting. I have some pros and some cons. Pros first, I love the colors for that suit there. It's the ideal figure for me to represent Superman in that body section. The cape is also really cool. It's dynamic and stuck in a single pose, which might bother some people, but the logo being printed on the back does make up for that in my eyes. I also just really do like that pose with the cape because it feels fitting with the display. A con, and the biggest con for me, is that face. I don't love the shaping there, and I really don't like the expression. I completely understand though that this is based on a very specific comics look, which is why he appears the way that he does, so I can't really complain about that. The coloring of his skin though, it makes him kind of look sick. It's just been really hard to try and find the absolute best definitive Superman action figure in 2024. He is pretty standout for the articulation though. He's able to move around at his head, and his arms feature movements in the shoulder and arm joints. The rotates and bends are all in the right places that you want to see here. Same for the lower body. All the joints like the torso and the legs have good hefty movements to mess around with. Just holding him does feel really good. He's a good figure, I just wish the head was different. As for a standing test, he really struggles. Part of that figure's heftiness, I guess, but luckily he does include an accessory that was essentially the sole reason why I wanted to buy him. He includes a flight stand, which I've never had as an accessory before, and this will be very useful for me for filming in the future. It clips onto the back of a stand here, and it has an adjustable clamp which just wraps around the figure's waist. I feel like the stand is better suited for more plain vanilla like figures though. Superman's body shaping, it just kind of barely holds on here. It's interesting to see that there is also a foot peg on the stand in case you just wanted him to be standing and not flying. Very nice. I bought the Superman to compare to my other Superman figure that I have. I really love this guy as well, but similar complaints. That facial expression just bothers me. I want a definitive Superman who looks like these guys but is smiling. This guy came in a 2-pack that I bought while I was in Australia some years ago at Movie World. I didn't realize how much of a darker costume design this guy had until I opened up the newer figure, but I love that darker design, and I love the fact that they both stand out together. Neither of them have the ideal face design for me though. Looking at these guys next to each other, I love those key differences. There's enough separating the two of them for me that warrant both being on the display. Differences in the capes too is surprising. I really just thought that they would probably reuse the same thing. The flight stand also works for other figures from the line. It fits the other Superman pretty well, so it does give me some options. His other accessories are simply just hand swaps. Here he has a closed fist and an open hand gesture, so the same style but on the opposite hands are provided. It's nice to see. Next up we'll take a look at Robin, and he is really the main selling point for me. I liked the look of that Superman figure, but the Robin is my ideal design for my display. Again, I'm all about the colors on toys like this. Those bright reds and yellows and greens just really appeal to me for the display, and it's an ideal costume design as well. I love the cape, I love the armor design he has here, and it makes for a good replacement figure for the Robin that I do have, just like how Superman makes for a neat comparison figure to the counterpart. Though I noticed something kind of weird on my figure. He's got a weird splotch of blue paint on his arm. pretty sure that's not supposed to be there. There's also no blue paint on the figure period, so I wonder how this could have happened. Articulation for the Robin figure is pretty stellar as well. Your basic head movements, arm movements in all the right places, torso movements, waist movements, bends and rotates in the legs, the works. For athletic type characters like this, it is exactly what I'm wanting to see. Standing test, unlike Superman though, he's pretty good, nice and easy, and as for his accessories, we have a couple things here. First up is his display stand. It's a very simple black dish that I think comes with just about every single McFarlane DC figure period. Foot pegs in, but he can actually stand pretty well without it. We then also have his bow staff, which is a good thick weapon, so he's going to be able to hold on to that thing rather easily. Finally, a batarang, which I think is the same one that was included in most Batman figures. All accessories are held well in place. It's awesome to see, because lately I think I've been covering a lot of figures who really struggle in that kind of department. And here he is compared to the Batman figure that I have. These two look really great together, and this is him compared to the other Robin I have. This is a Dick Grayson figure I bought alongside the Batman last year, but now I have a small little Bat family. The stories that I'm familiar with, Dick Grayson is the elder one, so this is a fun little contrast for me, and I guess now I'm on the lookout for a Barbara figure ideally. And we should close this trio out then with the Riddler figure. A quick look here because he was the figure that I was leaning on skipping if I was able to get these in person. Riddler appears with a super classic retro look, which is cool to see. I do much prefer McFarlane cover this kind of design rather than the annoyingly obscure designs that they have been focusing on. As of this video, I still do not have an ideal Wonder Woman figure because the absolutely incredible design of her is not sold in my country, so trying to track her down has been pretty difficult. However, every other weird variant of her is available in just about every other store that I look in. They're on clearance a lot because I just don't think anyone wants these. It's very tiring stuff. I don't want them either. I want the ideal look for her. I'm not familiar with this design of Riddler, so it isn't really the figure for me. I like the colors a lot here, but I think I prefer him being darker. All of the question marks everywhere is just pretty goofy to me, but in a positive and a negative sort of way. I don't think he's a bad figure though. He has all the articulation that you could possibly want, and I think that this would appeal to classic collectors for that 60s look, because my Batman here uses the blue cowl, and they do actually make a nice match together. He's got the head movements like usual, shoulder and full arm movements too, the same sort of body movements as seen in the previous figures, and the legs as well. I'm told that this is an entirely reused body from many previous McFarlane DC figures, which may be a bother to some people because it means very little here is new for the collectors. Standing test, he also needs a little bit of help. Once you have him in place though, he stands pretty well. Accessories, he has his cane with the logo at the end. The cane fits very easily in his hand and it looks very fun to be displayed with. And then he has a bunch of these extra hands included, all kinds of different gestures here, and they feel pretty similar to the Dick Grayson figure that I opened last year. The hands we've been looking at here are an open palm and a hand for holding his cane. We basically have the same gestures but for the opposite hands. There's some slight differences here, which is nice to see. He also includes two closed fists and then some fun gesturing hands, a finger guns and thumbs up. Display stand is also included with this guy. And lastly, we see Red Tornado, a character that I am not super familiar with besides his appearances in the Young Justice cartoon series. I do have a couple of Titans and Young Justice figures here, so he fits in well with them as well as the Justice League team. And I adore this figure so much. The vivid coloring of reds make him pop on my display shelf, and the blue cape as well. He's practically a standard McFarlane action figure though, through and through. Design wise, he just looks so appealing to me. Feels very hefty like the other figures. Nice paint job with the golds too. I'm thrilled to just have such a wildly contrasting figure for my display. His articulation is the same as the others. It's everything that you are wanting to see. Head and arms seem to move the same way, and the body has nice movements as well. The legs do function the ideal way. Standing test though, that cape just really destroys all of the standing. It's really pulling him back here. After some balancing, he stands fine, but really, you want to use that display stand. He also has two open hands as his accessories, just plain red hands which look pretty nice, and he does feature a display stand like the other figures, but the best accessory inclusion here is this tornado stand. This thing is great and part of what sold me on that figure. It looks like Tasmanian Devil spinning around, and he uses the foot peg on the inside for displaying. Standing him inside it is a little weird though. He leans off to the side, his feet are really squashed together, it's pretty tight in there for him. If you rotate the stand sideways though, he fits a bit nicer inside, so I guess it's supposed to be like this. The tornado stand also has a foot hole underneath, so that this can be applied to the black disc stand just for extra balance, I suppose. Every McFarlane DC figure also includes a collector card which features a description on the toy, as well as some artwork that you saw on the back of the box. I really don't care for these inclusions though, they're pretty unnecessary for me, but I know that this might have some fans fans out there, so here's the mention. And that is it for the DC McFarlane toy coverage. In order of review here, Superman is really cool besides the coloring for the skin and the facial expression. I do like having two Superman toys, but I still don't think I have an ideal definitive figure here because I want to see a smile. I'm starting to realize that the Superman Legacy figure might be the first one I get that has a smile. I love the hand gestures and the display stand here. He looks great standing next to those other figures. Robin is the standout figure for me easily. Everything about him just works. I love the costume design, I love the colors, I love how he looks next to the man himself. My whole reason for buying these figures was to try and get this Robin in hand, and I think he was well worth it. Riddler is fine, he just isn't for my ideal display stands, but actually taking a look at him with these goofy gestures, I'm kinda coming around on the figure. I think he matches the Batman figure quite well, even if I'm not fully sold on the design just yet, but maybe if I get some other classic Arkham figures, maybe they'll all look pretty nice on a display. Red Tornado is just really cool in general. He's very unique for that stand, and he looks great amongst the other figures. A very cool accessory to be included here, and the more I play around with him, the more I love him. These McFarlane DC toys have very similar price points here in my country compared to the Hasbro toy lines. I really love them just as much as I love the Marvel Legends and Black Series line. The details are great, the accessories are always interesting. I love the line, and I'm hoping that 2024 is the year that I can finally finish my Justice League figure inclusions. Thank you very much everyone for watching. I hope to see you all next time.